Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Future Achievement Students Summit presented by Junior Achievement Pennsylvania Area Officers. My name is Kriti Gupta. I am a rising senior at Upper St. Clair High School in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and this is my co-moderator, Miguel Perez, and we are thrilled to be your host this evening.
Absolutely, Kriti. From the corners of Pennsylvania to areas in between, we are excited to welcome high school students and young adults to represent the voices of this empowered next generation. This is a fantastic opportunity for all of us to engage with our special guest, Representative Joanna E. McClinton, the Speaker of the Pennsylvania House.
The purpose of this event is to provide a platform for you to ask questions and learn from Speaker McClinton's experiences and insights on topics that are important to all of us, like money management, career planning, and educational opportunities. Before we jump in, I'd like to introduce the presidents representing 4 junior achievement offices in Pennsylvania who have made this event possible. We are honored to have with us Ms. Patrice Matamoros, President of Junior Achievement of Western Pennsylvania, Ms. Stephanie Gambone, President and CEO of Junior Achievement of Southern Eastern Pennsylvania, Mr. Tom Russell, CEO of Junior Achievement of South Central Pennsylvania, Suzanne Magnota, President of Junior Achievement of Northeastern Pennsylvania. Thank you all for coordinating this wonderful opportunity.
Without further ado, let's welcome our esteemed guest, Representative McClinton. Representative McClinton has a remarkable background and extensive experience in public service. First elected in 2015, she serves communities in West and Southwest Philadelphia, Yeadon and Darby in Delaware County. She has made history 3 times, including becoming the first woman and first African-American elected as House Democrat Caucus Chair, and the first woman elected as the Speaker of the Pennsylvania House. A lifelong resident of Southwest Philadelphia, she holds degrees from the LaSalle University and Villanova University School of Law. Her dedication to public service has earned her numerous accolades, reflecting her commitment to education, economic growth, and community development. Please join us in welcoming the trailblazing Speaker Joanna E. McClinton.
Good evening, and thank you so very much for that warm welcome, Miguel and Kriti. It is a pleasure and honor to be in your presence. I'm so appreciative to Patrice, who I met just about 2 months ago and was so eager to find a way to connect me with you all. And I'm thrilled that we are all here together tonight. I look forward to your questions and most importantly, the conversation we will have. So very, very, very briefly, I will talk about myself, and then I want to hear what's on your mind and what can I do to amplify your voices here in the halls of Harrisburg, of our state capital. So as was said, I'm from Southwest Philly. I've lived in that community my entire life. From early childhood, I never thought about being in politics or running for office or being in front of the government. I wanted to be a lawyer, a preacher, a hairdresser, and an actress from like 2nd grade. And that stuck with me once I got to be many of your ages through high school. I got into a few different colleges and I chose to attend LaSalle University, which is a small school in Philadelphia. I studied political science for 4 years, and then I went to law school because that is what my mentor told me to do. I didn't study political science to have a career in politics. I studied it because sometimes still today, but many times years and years ago, like that was like the only thing you studied to get ready for law school. But then I went to Villanova for law school. When I graduated, I worked as a public defender in Philadelphia's public defender's office. It's called the Defender Association of Philadelphia. And it's in that experience that I really found my voice in advocating for other people, standing up for people's rights, handling trials, jury trials, trials with just the judge. It was pretty exhilarating. I did it for close to 10 years, not quite, and I loved every minute of it. I enjoyed standing up for people. I enjoyed navigating through hardships, finding good outcomes in very tough circumstances. I enjoyed fighting very hard for people to make sure that, you know, innocent people were not convicted. And in the few cases where they were, even years later, making sure that folks had access to justice and to be able to get out, to get exonerated, to get expungements. When I left the public defender's office, I went to work for my state senator His name is Anthony Williams. I worked in his office here in Harrisburg on session days whenever the Senate came to vote, and I was in his district office the rest of the week. And my job was to be his chief counsel. When I interviewed, I kind of thought that means I'm going to work on policy, on legislation. And then once I got to the state capitol, I found it's a coverall job. There's some jobs you'll have in life where you might think it's only one role, but it's so expansive. You get to do a lot of fun things and learn so much. And my job working for the senator was like a full education on state government, politics, how bills become law, how state budgets get done, how compromise comes. And it was really incredible. I kind of thought I would do it maybe for, like 5 years. As I said, I was at my first job out of law school for almost 10. So I'm one of those stick with it, learn, grow. But 2 years into the job, my senator said, your state rep resigned and the whole district is in my district. I used to be the state rep. Why don't you consider running for state rep? And I'm like, me? I don't want to be in politics because it's like, as much as I enjoy my job working as a chief counsel, I just kind of got the feeling that people in politics had big egos, were not very pleasant. I had a lot of opinions and, things I would never really say at work because, didn't want to seem too opinionated or, oh, I know everything. But I just thought like, no, that's not for me. And the senator invited me to a meeting where everybody there was interested in getting his support for the job. And we went around the table talking about our life experiences. And one thing I haven't shared yet, I'll share now, is from the end of my freshman year at LaSalle until when I was 30 years old, 13 years, I was the youth minister at my church. And in that role, I got to work with young people like yourselves and helping them create goals, move towards their goals, being a mentor, planning programs, sometimes fun outings, other times serious things like Black History. It was just really cool. So that's like a lot of things I did in my downtime. So I realized that while I wasn't thinking about running for office, while I didn't feel prepared for the moment, there was going to be a special election and someone was going to run. And although I was very intimidated at the time by the idea of becoming a candidate and running for office, that I needed to try, because if I didn't, I was always going to regret it. I was going to be at work one day in the Senate thinking, wow, what if I could be a state rep right now? What is that like? And my whole thing was, what if this job could be as fulfilling as being a public defender was? Because, it was just great. It was hard, but it was great. Long story short, that was 9 summers ago. My special election was in 2015, and I've been in the House ever since. So I've talked a lot for about 4 minutes, and now I would like to hear your questions or even just your thoughts. Maybe you don't have a direct question on bills or legislation on the state budget, but maybe you have some feedback. I am here to learn from you. I do not know it all. I have a great staff among me, but I think we can all learn, especially from the youngest leaders in our world. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much for that inspiring opening statement, Speaker McClinton. Now, we'd like to open the floor to questions from our participants. If you have a question, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom, and we will call you on your question directly. When called upon, please introduce yourself, your age, and where you are from.
Our first question comes from Dakarai. Dakarai, go ahead and ask your question.
Hello.
Hello.
All. I'm Dakarai Dennis. I'm 18 years old. I just graduated from Redline High School. This is in York, PA.
Congratulations.
About a week ago now. Thank you so much. And I will be attending University of Duquesne, actually, or Duquesne University for business analytics. And as you said, this isn't a question specifically on bills or anything like that, but more so on your story. Like as a Black woman growing up in like South Philly, getting to where you are now, what do you think was like the hardest the struggle you went through, what I'm saying, through your campaigning, of course, and getting to where you are now?
So thank you for the question, Dakarai, and congratulations on your success. Duquesne is an excellent school. I got to visit it. In fact, the last time I was in Pittsburgh and took a quick tour, of a little bit of the school, but more so the new medical school that they just built. So it's very challenging to pinpoint one challenge or one obstacle because to me, even now, I continue to run into challenges and obstacles. So it's very challenging to pinpoint, but I'll take the summer of my special election. Like a lot of people, and some of you may be here, know now I'm going to be elected official one day. I'm going to run for office one day. So when you start, even your college career with that mindset, you are like taking business cards, writing emails, following up, staying connected. I had great internships. I never followed up because I was like, oh, law school, like I'm not thinking about this after I get these credits, waive this final exam. All right, Congressman, see you in another life. And now, like, look at me, like some of the people that I volunteered for, like I'm now asking for their help 20 something years later. And I just wonder, like, what if I stood out more like back in the day? I mean, it's not a bad thing, but you know what I mean? Like, what if I was really focused on not taking anything for granted? And I think that's what I did. And then when I got to undergrad, the biggest challenge I had was just trying to assimilate. So, no matter where you went to school, it's very unlikely that your college campus is a cookie cutter of your high school experience. It's probably bigger, it may be more or less diverse. You might not like the food, you may miss your family. And I got to school with so many changes and challenges, and I lived in the city. I didn't even like go off, like you're leaving York, going to Pittsburgh. I left one part of Philly, went to the other part of Philly. I lived on campus, but it wasn't as bold as you, Dakarai. Like I didn't really leave. I left, but I didn't leave. But I had challenges assimilating. I was very shy. Like I went to a really small Christian school where most of my classmates, all of them looked like me. Most people had the same faith. So it was just eye-opening being in a new world, a new environment, getting used to it. And one thing I struggled with my first political science class was my professor told me to change my major. He was like, your papers are always late, you can't write, the stuff is not good, you need to change your major. And that first semester, I remember distinctively, I got 4 A's in every class. And then in political science, I got a C. And I went home and, we didn't get our grades until well into the winter break. And my mom was like, well, maybe you do need to change it, or at least not take that professor. Like, you got to figure things out. And so the first obstacle was that, like, do I belong here? Do I fit in? Am I going to be able to succeed? Because just like all of you, even if we've had hardships, I had hardships. My mom was a single parent. So we struggle with different things. We had challenges. But like when you start a new part of your life, you want to have affirmation. You want to pat on the back, like, yes, you belong. Yeah, bro. But I wasn't getting that initially. But after the first year, I'll say, I fit in a little bit better. I learned how to manage my time. I took papers to the writing lab. Like you just learn, you learn. And then when I went to law school, there were new challenges. When I got up to be an elected official, there are new challenges. When I went to court the first few times, it's new challenges. It's never like a one time, oh, I beat that obstacle and I'm good. Erin will tell you, she was watching a session today. I had challenges on the floor of the house today. They never stop, but it doesn't matter how many challenges you have. The key is to keep going.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
And thank you so much, Dakarai, for that question. Our next question, if somebody would want to raise their hand for the second one, is from Rachel. Rachel, please go ahead.
Good evening, Speaker McClinton. My name is Rachel Theodore. I'm 17 years old, and I'm a rising senior at Northeastern High School in York, Pennsylvania. My question is also a more general question, not really pertaining to laws or bills. But what are some tips that you would have for students looking to go into the field of law?
So great to meet you, Rachel. Excellent name. That's my mother's name. I love that name. I always said when I was young, if I have a daughter, her name is Rachel. So the tips I have for you are to, be confident. And as I was saying to Dakarai a little bit, you're going to continue to transition when you go from high school to college, and it might seem far away, but it goes fast. When you go from college to law school, you'll just continue to go through these transitions where you may, in some ways, just doubt yourself. Don't do it. Do not do it. You have what it takes. There's a reason you're in this great program. There's a reason when other people are scrolling the internet right now, and you might be doing that. I don't judge you, but we're all here at this meeting tonight. You know, you are driven, you're smart, you're intelligent. You will be able to thrive whatever you do. You could change your mind and say, you know what, I thought law, now medicine. Don't be discouraged. Like, if whatever you put your mind to, I'm a witness, you can do it. No matter what things you've had as a challenge already, people always minimize challenges you have when you're young. They're hard. You haven't lived here 60 years. It's hard. It's tough. It's difficult. And in this age of social media, there's so much pressure. But seriously, do not doubt yourself. Love yourself. Feel confident about yourself. And the one thing I try to remember to share with teams, especially, is affirm yourself. Because you don't, I always thought, like, oh, as soon as I get out of school, I won't care about fitting in. Grown-ups care about it too, until you decide, no, I know who I am. I recognize my voice, and I know my circle, I know my people, and I'm not worried about anybody that's not worried about me.
Thank you so much. I'm so appreciative of your amazing insight. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you for that question, Rachel. We'll have Bhavya ask her question.
Yeah, sure. Okay. First of all, good evening. It's very nice to see you. My name is Bhavya Guru, and I'm a 16-year-old junior at the Downingtown STEM Academy in southeastern Pennsylvania. My question is more about leadership in your current role. So what key leadership qualities do you think were you found to be the most important in your role as the Speaker of the House?
Nice to meet you, Bhavya. Shout out to Chester County. Glad to have you on here tonight. So to me, the number one role, you hear the title speaker, and if you ever are bored enough and you watch session, I'll put a little link in the chat. You think, oh, you're just up there talking and talking. But the key leadership trait is listening. Listening. First of all, I can't become Speaker of the House by myself. My colleagues have a decision on whether they want to run, or whether they want to vote for me, or whether they want to vote for somebody else. So each of us have the same roles. Our neighbor said, you're going to be state rep. Like, there's no constituent in my district that said, oh, I'm going to make you speaker. My colleagues make me speaker. And before I was their speaker, I was the leader for our caucus. And I learned that 10 times out of 10, what my colleagues need from me is for me to listen. Have a good night. For me to listen to their challenges, to listen to their victories, to listen and not, rush them through a story, to listen to how I can help them. And being speaker, I do have a lot to stand up there and say to get the bills read and all of that. But I also, when we're not, in session, have to take the time to listen. And even when we are having debates, take the time to listen, not, tune people out. And to me, that characteristic is something that goes a long way. I know everybody here has been in a conversation where you kind of like, all right, get to the point. Or, all right, this could be resolved. But when you learn to just slow down and like take people's words in and kind of process it before jumping in and interrupting them, I think it really helps make you into a good leader, because you have solidarity with that person. You're not just like, I know all the answers, I'm the speaker. It's like, hold on, let me listen, let me hear what you have to say, and let me see how we can work together to get solutions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bhavya, for that question. Our next question is from Natalia. Natalia, the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon, Speaker McClinton. My name is Natalia Coló-Rosario. I'm from the York area, so I attend Northeastern High School. And I'm a Puerto Rican girl who's really interested in going into politics. I'm sorry about that. I'm joining from my car. But politics has been my passion for a very long time. And so I've wondered if being a woman of color has changed, or how it's made your journey unique. and how you've overcome certain struggles, because there's an intersection that comes with being a woman of color. So I would love to hear your thoughts.
Only extra question I have, Natalia, is what grade are you going to? Or are
I'm
you?
going to, yeah, I'm going to be a senior this year.
Awesome, class of 25. It's so good to meet you. And I thank you for your interest in politics and for your voice. I know you're already using it in high school. You're not waiting to get elected to start influencing people and influencing decisions and, trying to create the change we need. As I said, unlike you, that's why I said there's people on this call that know you want to be in this. I'm glad we're having this talk. I never thought about politics as something for me. I always thought, I'm going to be a lawyer. Like, that's my big dream. I'm going to help change people's lives by practicing law. But here I am, still a licensed lawyer, but also helping to change people's lives by playing an active role in politics. There is definitely a big intersection between not just being a woman, but also being a woman of color. I encourage you to read books by women of color who are leading the movement. One that has inspired me, I never got to meet her when she was living, Shirley Chisholm. She wrote a book called Unbought and Unbossed, and it was in the 70s, but I read it on vacation 4 years ago. They sounded like now, like I'm not even joking. Like what she was describing sounded like this age. She was talking about fighting for women's freedoms and reproductive justice and being heard. And she talked in the book about, the hardest thing isn't that I'm a woman, it's that I'm a woman and a woman of color. It's like a double layer of, should we listen to you? Should we trust you? Should we vote for you? Should we respect you? But I'm so thrilled that just here in Harrisburg, we have so many women of color, and it's growing every 2 years. In the state house, we run every 2 years. We went through redistricting 2021 through 2022. And with just one election cycle, we elected the first Dominican woman, Joanna E, out of Reading. I don't know if you've ever met her, but she would love to meet you. She gets down to York quite a bit with the Pennsylvania Latino Legislative Caucus. We elected Latasha D. Mays, the first out lesbian woman. She's in Pittsburgh. I mean, we just went through so many demographic changes of who does Harrisburg look like, and does the state house look like the state? And it's starting to. We still have ways to go, but it's starting to. So yes, it is challenging because I know that many of my colleagues that are white male men only speak to me in certain ways because I am a Black woman. I know they only don't hear what I'm saying because I am a Black woman. They only come pull me on the side to correct me, or so they think, because I'm a Black woman. They only, say certain things to me and talk down because I'm a Black woman, but it's okay. I'm not so focused on my individual feelings, or even if they're trying to be rude. I am here for you. Like Natalia, I am holding the door open for all the women to come. Like, I don't care how they act, what they say. I mean, I don't want to use bad words here, but it doesn't bother me. That's what I'll say, because I recognize the fact that I'm here right now means that in 2034, you can be, Speaker of the House, like, because it won't be a new thing. Like, I literally have no one in PA to call, like, hey girl, can you tell me about when you were speaker and this happened? Like, there's no one to ask because there's never been a woman to do it, but there will be many more women to do it now that my colleagues have been able to help change the trajectory. So, it's tough, but it's not impossible. And I think when we look all around, we see women who look like us, even if they're very different. I think about a congresswoman I met in Allentown on Friday night, Congresswoman Escobar, a Mexican woman who's, leading the national, and we're not here to talk about politics. I'm not talking about politics, but she's leading the national movement for Biden-Harris 2024. She's an immigrant from Mexico, and she's a congresswoman in El Paso and Texas, where they're pulling over brown people, trying to see where they're from. Like, she's representing, she's holding it down. So there's so much more and so many more examples, but I don't want to go way off. I feel myself going way off. And I want to hear, because I saw other hands up, but thank you.
No, yeah, I really appreciate that. And I want you to know how much me and other young women of color who want to look into politics admire women like you, who are being trailblazers, who are being the first in history. So I want to thank you for that, like, sincerely. Could you repeat again the name of the Dominican woman who was just elected?
Yes, Johanny Cepeda Freitas. And I'll
Okay.
put it in the chat. And she
Thank you. I
has
appreciate
She's on all forms of social media, and we were just together a couple hours ago. She's in Berks County, and I will find her legislative page. I think Eli had his hands up, but I'm not the moderator. I'm gonna stay in my lane.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Natalia, thank you for your question. Next up, we have Eli. Eli, please take the floor.
Hi, Speaker McClinton. My name is Elijah Majocha. I am 19 years old. I'm studying political science at Chatham University, and I'm a young elected official on my school board at 19. And so, with the talks of the budget being in June, my only question is, what can we see being expected, allocated towards youth development in Pennsylvania, and what can I report back to my community with?
Absolutely. Congratulations, first of all, on your election. That's absolutely incredible. And your studies at Chatham, students from Chatham will be here. I think maybe tomorrow. They have a big Women in Politics initiative, and students come up every single session. But in terms of youth, so the first thing for me is school funding. I know that everybody's from all over the state, and you could live next door to a school district and have a totally different educational experience. We are working very hard so that we comply with the Commonwealth Court decision after a 10-year lawsuit that says we, and I'll say we, Pennsylvania legislature is not fairly funding our schools. So what that means is, in case anyone's not familiar, your zip code determines like what type of school you're going to be able to attend. So my neighbors that live in 19143, they're limited to certain school options. And the way that school is funded, because of my district is 40% poverty. We don't have a crazy property taxes. We don't have any big mansions with crazy property taxes. So if the state doesn't give up more money to Philadelphia School District, our schools will continue to fall behind. And then the other side of my district, Yaden and Darby Borough in Delaware County, their school district was the person who filed the lawsuit, William Penn School District, to say, hey, you're not fairly funding our schools. So report back as a school board member, especially. The big priority for Democrats in Harrisburg is to fairly fund schools. We're sitting on a $14 billion surplus. We are never going to have the votes across the aisle and across the Senate to be able to spend it all. And we don't want to spend it all, but we do want to kind of hit a reset button. And we just had a meeting earlier today. A bill's moving out of our House Education Committee tomorrow. I'll type the number, and I'll put it in the chat, essentially, and talk about what we can do so that there will be fair funding. Secondly, we're putting money into nonviolent programs. I know, just like everybody else who's a student, we're all concerned about safety. It wasn't a thing when I was growing up, I'll be honest. I'm 41, I'll be 42 in August. Columbine happened when I was in the 12th grade, and I was like astonished. And more than astonished, I thought, oh my goodness. Sadly, shootings happen in certain communities all the time. And I said to myself, well, maybe now people will do something strong about it, because this is a horrible thing is happening at school. 1999 was 25 years ago. You can still get assault weapons. You can still buy bump stocks. You can still, in Pennsylvania, buy ghost guns. We've sent 3 gun safety bills over to the Senate. We're working hard to try to get them to pass them. But what I was going to is, we do put money into school safety grants. The schools can beef up their safety, beef up their security, and so that nonprofits that serve young people can apply for violence prevention grants, because there are lots of mentorship programs that really keep youth on the right track and out of silly beefs that many times, unfortunately, lead to disastrous violent outcomes.
Thank you so much for that.
Sorry. Thank you, Eli, for your question, and thank you, Speaker McClinton, for your response. Our next question comes from Anika. Anika, please unmute and take the floor.
Hey, good evening, Speaker McClinton. I just want to start off by thanking you so much for coming on this call tonight and providing us with this incredible advice. So as a young individual in high school who aspires to do so much in the future, I was actually just recently elected as a school board representative for the Springford Area School District.
Where? I'm sorry.
At Springford Area School District.
Oh, in Monco.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you so much. I wanted to just ask, are there any opportunities to work with government officials or internships available for young individuals such as like high schoolers like myself and many others on this call to just continue working towards greater changes in Pennsylvania?
Yes, Anika. So congratulations on your election. That's awesome news. So for the summer Pennsylvania House internships, you have to be 18. So I'm sorry, it's not my rule, because I think, all through high school, you can provide valuable input to what we do as state reps and even our friends in the Senate, but that's the House rule. I know that when you turn 18, you should definitely reach out to whomever your member is. It's not unusual for me to get an email from a student as early as like January for the summer. I just hired 2 summer interns in my district office in West Philly. And my goal is to expose those students to constituent services. How does the state resolve problems for our neighbors and make our communities better? And how do we come up with policy? So I look forward to working with my interns, and I hope that even if you're not 18 yet, you'll put in the forefront of your mind or a little post-it note for later that this is something you should think about in the future, even if it's next summer, because we need your voices, your input, your suggestions, and we want you to be exposed to, what the inner workings are. Like, what do we do when we're not on PCN? What are we doing back home in our districts? So please keep that in mind. For those who are audacious and want to be in Harrisburg, there's a Pennsylvania House Fellowship Program where you can get credits. They help you find housing if you don't live here. Some of you are in York. It's not that far to commute depending on where you live and if you can drive. But there are all sorts of summer programs inside the Capitol also for 18 years old and up. And I know that for those of you who are politically inclined, I hear there's a big election in November. So no matter who you're supporting, everybody's looking for hands to be on deck. So, and they probably have less stringent 18 and up rules. So please don't count yourself short should you be inclined. The funnest thing I did in college was interning on campaigns. I loved it. It was exhilarating. It was very exciting. So get yourselves involved.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll definitely keep that in mind.
Thank you, Anika.
Thank you again, Anika, for your great question. We'd like to pass the torch over to Mya.
Hi, my name is Mya Clemmons. I'm 16 years old. I live in Farrell, Pennsylvania, which is kind of in the middle of nowhere, but I currently attend Lincoln Park Performing Arts Charter School, where I'm a writing and publishing major. Backing off about what you said a little bit ago, I definitely share a big passion of, violence prevention, programs and stuff like that. That's why I started my own nonprofit, Mia's Magical Books, to help give books to children in need, where I've had the honor to give over 1,000 books to children in need all over Pennsylvania. My question doesn't have to do a lot about bills, but something that I think is really important, especially when talking to the people who are, making the big decisions about our country, is how have you stayed true to your morals while in Congress?
Well, Mya, thank you so much for your question. I have one question for you really quickly. Farrell, that's in Sharon, right?
So Farrell is right here and Sharon's literally right there. So they're like sisters. Yes, really, really close.
Because my friend's mom is a school board director, but it may
Seriously?
be in Sharon.
What's her name? I probably know
Dr.
her.
Laura King Adams.
Laura King Adams.
So maybe she's in the next district over.
She sounds really familiar. Really familiar. The superintendent for Farrell, I think? Or
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, she is. I just have
Yeah.
to Google her because I'm like, is this for my, she calls herself my mom. I call myself her daughter
Oh,
because I'm very
sweet.
good friends with one of
Yeah,
her daughters. But yes, I'm like, wait, I think I know where this is.
so
Uh,
cool.
yes. So first of all, put the information for your nonprofit in the chat if it's on social media so I can stay connected. That's
Thank you.
awesome, awesome work. We are in a critical age where, especially after the pandemic, it's like problems don't get resolved through words. Problems get resolved through bullying, through aggression, through violence. And so the more we can help to maintain peace, pursue it, and keep it. Thank you for everything you're doing. And in terms of staying true, like I'm honestly like so grounded in the sense of like, wow, I'm in the speaker's office and not for a meeting. I'm the speaker. Oh my gosh, like it's wild to me. I was a member here for 8 years and I only came into this office a handful of times. Once, the first time I was a young member with the Black Caucus, something wild happened on the floor. Somebody said some like disrespectful thing. So the Black Caucus chair like demanded a meeting with the speaker. So I remember coming in here. Then like a few years later, it was a budget meeting. And then I don't think I was in here until I was minority leader. Then I used to get called in here all the time by the past speaker because I was always in trouble. But staying true to myself is not a struggle. I'm still very shocked and surprised and grateful for the ability to speak on behalf of my neighbors in Harrisburg. And that, voters in Pennsylvania for the first time in 12 years elected a Democratic majority, and that my colleagues, as I said, any one of us can be speaker. Like, it's not a special secret sauce. Any one of us can be speaker, but the fact that they gave me the ability to do it, it's very humbling. So staying true to myself is not a challenge. What is a challenge is working with people who don't care about people. That's a challenge. We're supposed to be in the business of public service, but some people are just here. Maybe they came for the right reason. And I mean, I don't know. Like, I can literally see your face. I can't see your heart, your motives, your intent. I don't know it, but just based off of the way people carry themselves and the types of decisions they make, it's clear that they don't care about people. And I'll just give you one example. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle, and I have respect for every political affiliation, will say things like, man, we got to do something about the violence. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. It's out of control. But then when we talk about the fact that, law-abiding gun owners don't have ghost guns, we should ban them. Like, you should be able to like go online and get these parts and get it sent to your house. Oh no, we can't do that. The founding fathers will turn over in their grave. We can't disrupt the Second Amendment. It's like, oh, this is not what they had in mind. like what we're living in is not what they had in mind. We know that they literally ended disputes with gun violence. But even still, like what we're dealing with and the siege that our children, our students are under, like the threat, is completely different. Like, this is not different. They did not, make an amendment that said we can never protect second graders, always defend the Second Amendment. So that is what's challenging for me. Not so much staying true to my values, but, with not judging people and realizing like, wow, maybe I'm just here for a little while so that I can absolutely use my influence and persuasion so that the people who aren't here that care about people, my care about people, will rub off on them and will do positive things and make incremental changes that one day, because like I tell them, like none of us here for a long time, like it's a short time, whether you're here for 10 years or 2 years, it is brief. And everybody forgets about you and moves on. That also keeps me grounded. I know one day people are going to say, hey, you want to take a selfie? They're going to be like, oh, she looks familiar. I don't know her. But thank you for sharing this information.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to meet you, truly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mia, for your question. And thank you, Speaker McClinton, for your wonderful insight. We do have some questions that were submitted online, and I will be stating them from the script. And Speaker McClinton, if you could give your response to the students who have submitted their question, that would be wonderful. And if anybody else has a question that they'd like to jump in, feel free to raise your hand. So this first question is about opportunities. Opportunities are given to a lot of people, but for you, how did you actually use your opportunities given to you to get where you are now? From J. Noah Martin in Pittsburgh.
Thank you for the question, Jay. That's profound. So in some ways, honestly, I think when I didn't have the wisdom and the foresight to take opportunities, and I'm a person of faith, and it's fine if you are not, you don't have to believe, but I believe it's all good. But I've always like deeply sensed that there's been something outside and much bigger than me that's put these things together because, like I said, political science major, disinterested personally in politics, asked to run, not interested. 9 years later, Speaker of the House, the first woman. This is like something that's made up in, a movie, maybe by Shonda Rhimes. I don't know, but it's like not an ordinary story. But what I'll say is, and this is why I said, I think a little bit earlier, to Dakar, saying his name correctly, not to doubt yourself, because I just always thought like, oh, even when I was applying to the job at my senator's office, I'm like, this senator doesn't know me. He's not going to hire me. I'm sure he knows lawyers. Like, like how's he going to land on my name? He doesn't know me. We'll see. I'm gonna go on the interview, see how it goes. But then I ended up getting the job, and quite frankly, it was like that connection that really put me on the path. I keep going in my mind thinking like all the jobs that I interviewed for that I was like, these people didn't call me. This is crazy. Like if I had gone on that path, I would not be doing this right now because it just wouldn't have worked out. Like there's no way it could have worked out. So I realized, especially looking back, that every opportunity, we can't diminish it, we can't dismiss it. And if other people are believing in us, even if for a quick moment we don't have the faith, let's go on what they're saying and really listen and follow, the wisdom and the guidance, especially of people that have been around and know much more than we do, whatever the arena is in.
Wow, thank you so much for that answer. Truly, it was moving. And I actually have a question just before I hand the torch off to Miguel. So my question is, how do you stay positive even in the darkest of times? I know with the job that you have, being a woman of color and being in a position where a lot of people can be against you and your ideals, how do you keep that positive mindset? And kind of piggybacking off of Mia's question, how do you stay true to your morals within that positive mindset?
Yes, thank you for that question, Kriti. I have to do a lot of things to disconnect, to unplug, and to be refreshed. It is possible to even be, optimistic, but at certain points say, what am I doing? This is a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. I'm never going to get anybody on board to fairly fund the schools, to, pass public safety gun bills. Like it's never happening. Why am I doing all this? I should be doing something else, getting less gray hair by the second. But I am able to do the different things that fill me up so that when I come here, I'm ready to rumble, not physically, but ready to fight for what I believe in. And those things are working out with my trainer, taking time on Sundays, even when I get several invitations to go to church, because that's something that really fuels me. Spending time cooking, that is like a real decompressor, and my food's pretty good, so I enjoy it as well. I brought my staff potato salad this afternoon. Everybody's like, you make this? I'm like, yeah. So, finding the things that bring me calm, bring me tranquility, but also fill me up. Like what fills me up so that when I do come back to work, I am really ready to be in the positive mindset and to continue to be grounded and see everything as an opportunity, not as oh, this didn't work out, that didn't work out, but like, no, it's an opportunity to keep working.
Thank you so much for that insight. And as a rising senior, I tend to face that issue on occasion, but truly having that insight, not only from the adults around me, but from somebody so esteemed as you, it truly has an impact. So I really thank you for all of the insight you've given. I'm going to hand the torch off to Miguel as moderator for a little bit. So thank you.
Thank you. Miguel, you have to tell me where you go to school and where you live in Philly, not like street, but what area.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that as soon as possible. I'd like to introduce Julie for her next question.
Hi, I'm Julie. It's nice to meet you. I
love the chair.
Thank you. I go to Canon McMillan, and I also go to Western Area Career and Technology Center. I'm 18. I'm an upcoming senior. And as a lot of us are upcoming seniors, I would like to ask the question of what resources might you recommend to help students decide on which educational institution would most benefit them in their journey after graduation?
And can you tell me, just because I don't know, what county is your school in? And what are you taking up at the CTE program?
I am in Washington County and I go to
Oh.
Western area for nursing.
Southwest in the house. I was in Washington last for the Chamber of Commerce event at CNX. So great to have you. In terms of resources available, so the state has a program through FIA. It's a Pennsylvania Higher Education Association, Academic Association. I'm missing an A. Sorry, forgive me. But Pennsylvania, fast fact, a little history lesson, has had only one other African American speaker, and his name was Speaker K. Leroy Irvis. He served Pittsburgh, and he was called the Lion of the House. And one of the things he fought for was for FIA to be created so that children like myself, when I was in high school, low-income families, can have state money that they can rely on to help them go to higher education. The money from FIA can be used at trade, I won't say trade schools, but like technical colleges, and it can also be used at, community college or traditional college. The exciting thing for your generation is like everybody's realizing soon we're not going to have nurses, teachers, doctors, police officers. So building trades persons, carpenters, electricians, every single thing, they're like, oh my goodness, in 10 years, we're going to have no one. So you have lots of choices, lots of options. So my words are to find what you enjoy. People say if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I don't believe that. I've had a lot of jobs. I've been a scheduler at Children's Hospital, summer in college. I was a neighborhood tutor for 2 years in college. I waited tables all through law school. I enjoyed those jobs, and they were all hard work, just like being speaker. And so I don't subscribe to that. You'll never work a day in your life if you do what you love. Maybe that is for some, but it's always been work for me, no matter what role I've had. So that being said, figure out what it is that's interesting to you. Is it nursing? Is it becoming an electrician? I mean, we have well-paid positions that some of them, if you cannot get a scholarship, you can get money through FIA, or, if it's a trade program, some of them have their own money or they pay you while you go. Some of my friends that work in skilled nursing, they have their medical assistants become LPNs, and then they have their LPNs become RNs, and they reimburse their tuition, or they just flat out pay it. There's lots of options right now and lots of things that are interesting. And while you think, I'm 18, I've got to figure it all out, I shared my several career transition. One thing I didn't add is I've taught at Temple Law School, not currently, but for 5 years. Like, you just keep on changing. So don't think you got to know now and I've got to figure this out because 2025 is upon me. Sure, you might want to figure out your next immediate step, but don't think once you do that, you're done. Like, you might become a nurse for 20 years and then decide, oh, I want to do something else. I mean, it's no end. And that's the exciting part. When you're talented and smart, you don't have to have the answer, but you also don't have to say, and this is where I'm going to be for 30 years, because I don't know that the next generation is going to make those types of lifetime commitments. And that's okay. You don't have to.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Julie, thank you for that question. I'd like to pass it over to Maya to ask her question.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hello,
My
Maya.
My name's Mya Fortune, and I'm a student at the Business Academy. And I was wondering if there was a challenge that you had to face in your career and how you overcame it and how it made a significance in your life.
One quick question, Maya. What do you have that banner for? Did you win something, or is that from a sibling? I don't want to take away the steam.
It's from sports. I used to be a competitive cheerleader.
Awesome. Congratulations for winning the Royal Rumble, if I'm reading that correctly. So there have been lots of different challenges, Maya. Let's see, try to think of a recent one. Oh my goodness. I'll have a good one. So I know you met Aaron, who's been on my team for a bit. Before I worked with Aaron, I worked with another team, and I remember when I first wanted to run for a leadership post, it was in 2018. The person who worked on my team laughed and said, "You don't have a shot at that." And I did, I won. But it's just like, it's wild. People that you pay to support you sometimes don't support you. It's really, really strange and wild, but there have been lots of different challenges. And with you being a record-breaking athlete, I know competition probably more than I do. Like, I mean, I don't get to see every person running for state rep on election day. Like, I'm in one district. I see my neighbors and, I'll go to visit a couple of other people running, but I don't get to see everybody. But you have stood on, like literally the gymnasium and seen all your competition, right? And you can't turn around, look away, oh, I'm going to go back. Like, it can be intimidating. And in that instance, in 2018, I remember thinking like, well, if she doesn't think I can do it, maybe I cannot do it. But thank goodness I had many colleagues who were like, oh no, you got to try. Because if you don't try, you'll never break into the leadership circle. Because once people are there, they're there for years. And then it's hard. It's very competitive. You can't knock them off. Way too much inside politics. But people who you think, will support you sometimes don't. So don't let that discourage you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maya, for that question. And thank you, Speaker McClinton, for your response. All right. So, Miguel, go ahead.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll give some background. So I am from the Northeast Philadelphia region. A way in which I am involved in the political scene would be I'm a part of the Superintendent Student Advisory Council under
Nice.
Dr. Tony Watlington. I'm a senior going to attend the University of Pittsburgh Honors College for Physics and Quantum Computing this coming fall.
Wow,
Pretty sure.
congratulations.
Thank you. And I think it says ask my question. Yes. So I'll ask one of my questions, that being, could government incentives or policies be implemented to encourage companies to invest in education programs within their internship offerings?
Well, the first thing is more need to be paid. The summer program we have with the House is paid, but I know a lot of government programs are not paid. If you want to go to Capitol Hill, for instance, and work for Congress in the summer, many of them are not paid. And it ends up excluding a large amount of working class families. Like, I mean, people say, oh, well, maybe you're poor if you can't afford a free summer. It's like, no, you could be working class, your folks could be doing well, but you need to have your money ready to get ready to go back to school. Like, everybody can afford to just volunteer. And so I think that's a really big incentive that we need to change, because what ends up happening is only certain folks who are more well off, whose families have access to more resources, are able to, participate in these types of experiences, and everybody else is kind of left in the trails, which isn't reflective of our society. Like, we should really bring the barriers down so that everybody has more access to these experiences, because personally, these experiences, while not one summer on the Hill or in Harrisburg or, in City Hall may change your life, you're able to develop a network. And you're on the superintendent circle, all of you are junior achievement across the state. Like, you're able to develop a network of people that, no matter what you do in the future, whether you run for office or you become a staff member or whether you become a nurse, a doctor, like, you are building your reputation, your career connections. They start young. They don't just start when you get to, point C, whatever that looks like and wherever it is. So I do think we have more work to do to make sure that internships are more accessible, and that even for high school students, as I was saying, I didn't make the rule for 18, but making sure that high school students have access to these types of summer opportunities as well is very key. Because you can say, oh, young people don't want to vote, but what have young people been exposed to? What type of experiences? It's like, if you're not super interested on your own, you'll never get to meet anybody who's in elected office. You'll never get to have conversations with them, and it shouldn't be that way.
So thank you for everyone who is joining us today for this evening, even after a long school day or work day. And thank you again, Speaker McClinton. It was absolutely a pleasure. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to add?
I just want to thank you all for your attention. I hope you packed dinner. I appreciate you being here and thank you for waiting. The president of the Pennsylvania State University is in town, so I had to greet her at an event a little bit earlier, but this has just been amazing. I'm so grateful to Patrice and to her team for coordinating this and making it possible. The last thing is I hope to see you all in Harrisburg, especially for those of you who have more high school. We've got to figure out a way to get all of you here for a session day, next session, and then I can tell everybody on the floor. And we met last year, but these are my people from all over the state.
I think we can figure that out. I think everybody would be willing to do that. Thank you so much for your time and energy and positive everything. This has been so fantastic and a real honor. And we're really grateful to have you in this role.
Well, thank you for having me, and you all continue to stay blessed and on the path of success. So proud of each of you, and just overwhelmed by the amazing questions you ask and your portfolios and your 16, 17, 18. I'm like, wow, I got to meet with Junior Achievement tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Speaker McClinton, for everything that, all the insightful responses that you've given us this evening. It's truly been an honor to have you.
Yes, thank you again. And thank you to everyone who joined us for this engaging event. We hope you found it as enlightening and motivating as we did.
Thank you. Have a good night. And to those who watch later.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.